Welcome to the story. Don't forget to like, subscribe and support me. Sam Carter adjusted his bow tie in the mirror, flashing himself a confident grin. He had to admit, running a time travel agency was pretty cool. Sure, there were hiccups more than a few, actually, but today marked the grand reopening, and he had to get it right. He'd upgraded the time machines, implemented new security protocols, and even hired extra help. Nothing could go wrong this time. "Sam, the clients are already waiting," Lizzie called from the other room. Her no-nonsense voice carried through the glass doors of the small agency office, which was perched on the edge of the bustling metropolis of New Neo City. In the heart of the 22nd century, tourism wasn't limited to foreign countries or distant planets. It now extended to the far reaches of history itself. "Be right there," Sam said, straightening his jacket. He marched out of his office, greeted by the sight of 5 eager tourists seated in the waiting room. There was a middle-aged couple clutching matching guidebooks, a nerdy-looking guy in glasses with a history buff t-shirt, and 2 college students chatting animatedly about their travel plans. "Welcome to Time Travel Agency," Sam began with his best customer service smile. "You're about to embark on a journey through time like never before. Whether you've chosen the Roman Empire, medieval Europe, or the Jurassic period, we guarantee a safe and exhilarating experience." The couple exchanged excited glances while the students whispered something about dinosaurs. Nerdy guy, however, raised his hand. "Excuse me, what kind of safety precautions do you have?" "I've read about time tourism accidents." Lizzie, who had appeared beside Sam, shot him a knowing look. "All our trips are monitored in real time. We have emergency protocols, and there's absolutely no chance of altering the timeline." She paused for emphasis. "Trust me, we've learned from the past," Sam coughed. "Right, no timeline issues." "None whatsoever." Lizzie's deadpan expression told the clients everything they needed to know if things had gone wrong before. But today was going to be different. It had to be. "All right," Sam continued, clapping his hands. "Everyone, follow me. Let's get you geared up for the adventure of a lifetime." The preparation room hummed with energy as each client was fitted with a sleek, silver wristband, the most critical piece of time travel equipment. "These are your return tickets," Sam explained. "At any point, just tap the button, and you'll be instantly transported back here. No questions asked." Once outfitted, the group moved toward the sleek, metallic pod that dominated the room. It resembled a cross between a spaceship and a luxury elevator, with glowing panels and holographic controls. Sam activated the console, and the familiar hum of the time engine kicked in. "First stop in medieval Europe for the Thompsons," Sam announced. The middle-aged couple grinned as the pod doors sealed shut around them. Sam set the date to 1347, moments before the Black Death swept across Europe. A safe spot at least, it had been last time. The pod shimmered and vanished, leaving only a slight ripple in the air. Lizzie crossed her arms. "Are you sure they'll be okay?" "The last group got lost for 2 weeks and had to be rescued by knights." Sam waved her off. "Relax, I've updated the system. It'll be smooth sailing from here on out." 15 minutes later, the first sign of trouble appeared. Sam was mid-pitch, showing the next group how to safely interact with dinosaurs without getting eaten, when a red alert blared from the console. The Thompson couple's return trip had been activated far earlier than scheduled. Sam and Lizzie exchanged worried looks as the pod shimmered back into existence. The doors slid open to reveal the couple, wide-eyed, pale, and covered in mud. "We broke in bar. We were almost executed as witches," Mrs. Thompson cried, clutching her husband's arm. "Some priest saw me using my phone and said I was a demon." Lizzie sighed. "Okay, not exactly unexpected." Sam gave a forced chuckle. "Well, the important thing is you're back safe and sound. Full refund on us." The Thompsons grumbled their thanks and hurried out of the agency, vowing to never speak of their time in the Middle Ages. "Great start," Lizzie muttered, but Sam brushed it off. There were still other clients to satisfy. Next up was Nerdy Guy, who had chosen a solo trip to ancient Greece. His mission: witness the birth of democracy in Athens. A history buff's dream. Sam set the coordinates, patted the guy on the back, and sent him on his way. Third time's the charm, Sam muttered as the pod shimmered and disappeared. The wait this time was too long. Lizzie paced nervously, glancing at the clock. It's been an hour, Sam. He should have been back by now. Maybe he's just enjoying the sights, Sam offered, though even he didn't believe it. Another red alert blared. The pod reappeared, but when the doors opened, the scene inside was chaos. Nerdy Guy was standing in the middle of the pod, red-faced and breathing heavily. You won't believe what happened," he stammered. "I sneezed." "You a broken bar sneezed?" Sam repeated, confused. "Yeah, I sneezed, and this philosopher started freaking out. He said I had offended the gods and demanded I be thrown off a cliff. The next thing I know, Athens is in an uproar, and someone starts burning down the Parthenon." Lizzie pinched the bridge of her nose. "A sneeze caused that?" "It's called the butterfly effect," Nerdy Guy said, his voice trembling. "One small action, and the whole timeline's ruined." "We'll fix it," Sam assured him, though he had no idea how. After Nerdy Guy's mishap, Sam and Lizzie took a break to regroup. The college students were the only ones left, eager to travel to the Jurassic period. Despite the growing list of disasters, Sam figured this would be the easiest trip yet. The dinos were well monitored, and as long as no one got too close, there would be no problem. "Just a broken bar, please don't sneeze," Lizzie muttered as she set the pod's coordinates. The pod shimmered and disappeared, carrying the students millions of years into the past. For once, things seemed to go smoothly. 20 minutes passed without an alert, and Sam began to relax. "See, nothing to worry about. The dinos are practically tame." He spoke too soon. A loud crash reverberated through the agency as the pod returned with a jolt, skidding across the floor. The doors flew open, and the students tumbled out, screaming. "It's huge. It's coming for us." Sam's eyes widened as a massive T-Rex head poked through the doors, roaring. The students had somehow triggered the return trip before the pod could fully close, bringing a piece of the prehistoric era with them. "Lizzie, close the door." "Close the door," Sam shouted, running to the console. Lizzie frantically tapped at the controls, and the pod's doors slammed shut, cutting off the T-Rex's head in the process. The students stared, pale and shaking, at the disembodied head that now lay on the agency floor. "Well, at least you got a souvenir," Sam offered weakly. Things didn't get better from there. Over the next few hours, Sam and Lizzie were bombarded with one disaster after another. Clients lost in the Renaissance, a man accidentally inspiring a Roman revolution, and even a near collapse of the entire space-time continuum when a group of tourists in ancient Egypt were mistaken for deities. By the time the time travel enforcers arrived, Sam was sweating bullets. The enforcers, clad in sleek black uniforms, marched into the agency with grim expressions. They'd clearly had enough of Sam's antics. "We're shutting you down," the lead enforcer said, crossing his arms. Sam's heart sank. "Wait, just give me one more chance. I can prove that my agency is under control. No more mistakes." The enforcer raised an eyebrow. "One more chance? One more trip?" Sam pleaded. "I'll take a group to the future. No risk of messing up the past." The enforcer glanced at Lizzie, who shrugged. After a long pause, the enforcer sighed. "Fine, one trip. But if anything goes wrong, we're confiscating your time machines." Sam swallowed hard but nodded. "Deal." Sam stood in front of the gleaming pod, heart pounding. The future trip was his last chance to save the agency, and he couldn't afford any more screw-ups. He glanced over at Lizzie, who had her arms crossed, her expression a mix of skepticism and concern. "Are you sure about this?" she asked. "The future isn't exactly predictable either." Sam forced a grin. "It's the future. What could go wrong?" "Nothing's been written yet." Lizzie sighed. "You're using that logic?" He wasn't entirely convinced either, but it was the best he had. The group of clients, a family of 4 with wide-eyed kids, was already seated in the pod, eagerly awaiting their time jump to the far future. The enforcers stood at the back of the room, arms crossed, watching everything like hawks. "Here goes nothing," Sam muttered as he keyed in the coordinates for the year 3120, long after the present day. The machine hummed to life, and the pod shimmered out of sight, taking the family with it. He and Lizzie stood in silence, staring at the empty space where the pod had been. Minutes passed. Sam tried to keep his breathing steady, telling himself it was going to work out. No rogue dinosaurs, no sneezing clients triggering butterfly effects. This was the futuria. They wouldn't be changing history, just observing it. But then, as if on cue, the alarm blared. "Not again," Sam groaned. The pod reappeared with a violent jolt, and the doors slid open to reveal chaos inside. The family stumbled out, their clothes cinched and torn, their faces wild with panic. The 2 kids were crying, clutching their parents. Behind them, smoke poured out of the pod. "What's going on?" Sam rushed forward, trying to assess the situation. The father shook his head, dazed. "It was a broken bar. The robots are broken bar. The AI a broken bar. They tried to kill us." Sam froze. "Robots?" The mother nodded frantically. "The entire city was run by machines, and she broke off into a sob. "They said we weren't authorized visitors. They thought we were intruders." Lizzie's eyes widened as she looked over Sam's shoulder. Sam, you might want to take a look at this." He turned slowly and saw what Lizzie was pointing out just behind the family. Stepping out of the pod, was a sleek, towering robot. Its metal body gleamed under the agency lights, and its glowing red eyes scanned the room. "Intruders identified." Eliminating threats, the robot said in a deep, mechanical voice. "Run!" Sam yelled. The enforcers sprang into action, shouting orders and pulling out strange devices that looked like advanced tasers. The robot moved with alarming speed, its arms extending as it shot a laser at the nearest enforcer, who narrowly dodged it. "Time to fix this," Lizzie called out, diving for the controls. Sam followed, frantically typing into the console to override the pod system. "We need to send it back now." The robot advanced, its movements fluid and terrifying. Another enforcer fired a taser at it, but the electric charge only seemed to anger the machine. It raised its arm again, targeting Sam and Lizzie. "Almost a broken bar." 3 broken bar, Sam muttered through gritted teeth, his fingers flying across the keyboard. The pod's door slid open, and a sudden gust of air pulled at the robot. "Initiating return sequence," Lizzie shouted, slamming the final button. With a loud, mechanical roar, the robot was yanked back toward the pod, disappearing just as it had arrived. The door sealed shut, and with a final shimmer, the pod vanished, taking the rogue machine back to the future where it belonged. Sam slumped against the console, panting. The room was eerily quiet, save for the soft beeping of the console as it powered down. The family sat on the floor, shaken but alive, while the enforcers gathered themselves, muttering into their comms. "That," Lizzie said after a long pause, "was too close." Sam nodded, wiping the sweat from his forehead. "Yeah, I'm beginning to think maybe the future isn't any safer than the past." One of the enforcers, the leader, stepped forward, shaking his head in disbelief. "That was the last straw, Carter. We've tolerated these incidents for too long." "You're out of control." Sam opened his mouth to protest, but the enforcer raised a hand to silence him. "This isn't a negotiation. You've endangered lives, tampered with history, and now you've almost unleashed an AI uprising in our present. We're shutting this place down." Sam's heart sank. Lizzie looked at him, her expression softening. "Maybe it's for the best," she said quietly. "We're just not equipped for this." Sam started, then stopped himself. She was right. As much as he loved running the agency, he had to admit that things had spiraled out of control. Maybe he wasn't cut out for this kind of responsibility. The enforcer snapped his fingers, and 2 others moved to the console, powering it down. The time machines hummed to a stop, the lights dimming as the agency went offline. Sam watched as they carefully locked the controls, sealing them with some kind of futuristic tech that he didn't even recognize. "I'll have to confiscate the pods," the lead enforcer said, his tone final. "They're too dangerous in civilian hands." Sam swallowed hard. "What a broken bar. What happens now?" The enforcer shrugged. "You can stay in business, but no more time travel. Maybe open a historical museum or something. But your time tourism days are over." He felt the weight of the words. All the dreams he had for the agency, all the excitement of exploring Historia gone. He stood there, numb, as the enforcers left with the pods, leaving him and Lizzie alone in the quiet, darkened office. Lizzie placed a hand on his shoulder. "I'm sorry, Sam." He let out a long breath, rubbing the back of his neck. "Yeah, broken bar. I guess that's it then. No more time travel." For a moment, they stood in silence, the weight of the agency's closure sinking in. Sam couldn't believe it was over. All those adventures, all the wild clients are broken bar despite the disasters. It had been fun, and now it was gone. But then, just as Sam was about to suggest closing up for good, a soft beeping noise caught his attention. He frowned, glancing at the console. The power had been shut off. How could anything still be running? Lizzie noticed it too. "That's weird," she muttered, walking over to the console. Sam followed, squinting at the tiny flicker of light coming from a hidden panel. It was one of the emergency systems, usually inactive unless something had gone very wrong. He knelt down, pressing the panel's edge. It slid open to reveal a small, blinking screen. "What's that?" Lizzie asked, leaning over his shoulder. Sam stared at it for a moment, then broke into a slow grin. "It's a broken bar backup." Lizzie raised an eyebrow. "A backup of what?" "The time machine. One of the earliest models, before the upgrades. I kept it in case of emergencies." Lizzie's eyes widened. "Wait, so you mean a broken bar?" Sam nodded, the grin widening. "We're still in business." He jumped to his feet, his energy renewed. "They took the new machines, but they don't know about this one. It's old, sure, but it still works. We can keep going." Lizzie shook her head, half amused, half exasperated. "You're insane. You know that?" Sam winked. "I prefer to think of it as being ambitious." Lizzie laughed, throwing her hands up in defeat. "All right, Carter. What's next?" Sam turned to the console, already typing in new coordinates. "How about a nice, easy trip to the Renaissance? No robots, no dinosaurs, no sneezing clients, just some good old-fashioned art and culture." The machine hummed softly, the familiar glow returning. As Sam and Lizzie prepared for their next adventure, he couldn't help but feel that maybe, just maybe, things were going to be okay. After all, running a time travel agency wasn't about avoiding disasters, it was about embracing the chaos. And as long as there was time to explore, there'd always be another adventure waiting just around the corner.